Although he's neither handsome nor witty nor wealthy, he was universally beloved because of his fairness of his character, his fondness for his relations and humanity to his slaves, his bravery in the Indian War. He was the darling of the country. But Ori disavowed this characterization in the margin of his own personal copy of Ween's book. So our impressions, well founded, were they shared by Marion's soldiers? And I'm very glad to say that apparently they are. The soldiers were not shy about talking about officers they didn't respect or didn't like. Horatio Gates in particular comes in for severe criticism from his soldiers. And I didn't find anything negative about Marion and the pension applications, but instead, this is what we find. He's referred to as gallant, highly meritorious, able and energetic, and capable of daring acts of generalship and bravery. So I find that to be reassuring. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah. Were the pensions of 1832, were they retroactive?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, in other words, a lot of those men had survived the war, but had not been alive in 1832. Were their dependents allowed to collect any of that?
Yes. If the soldier died after the Pension Act was passed, which was in the spring of 1831. So if they died between spring of 1831 and the chance they had for applying, then the widow or other heir could claim the pension, apply for it.
But if they died before that, they couldn't?
No, they were just out of luck. Yeah, Congress isn't stupid. They wait until all the beneficiaries are dead or...
Wait a minute. But I take issue with your statement, Congress isn't stupid, but that's not my question. My question is, was it retroactive in that they got payment before they were approved, or was it only from the moment they got approved?
In 1832, it started when the Pension Act was passed, so it would be retroactive to spring of 1831. And for the 1818 Act, it only began the day it applied.
So the first 50 years didn't count.
That's right.
So what was the latest payment that you're aware of?
There is a widow. She married a Red War veteran when she was very young, and I think she collected her last payment around 1880 something. It's been a long time since I looked at that, but that was the widow. The last soldier to collect, I think some of them lived to be 105 or so. So that would make them, that would make it about 1850s or something like that. Yeah.
What is the most startling revelation that you have found in the pension records?
That's a good question.
I think overall, these men had a damn good memory. They could remember river crossings. That's one of the things that they remember the most. And it must have been a big deal when you think about it. You know, it's quite an operation to cross the river. They remembered their captains. They remembered their colonels. And like us, they have a very selective memory. There are certain things that stand out, like putting your blankets on the Black Mingo Bridge. And one of the things that stands out is they they don't talk about liberty or freedom or what they're fighting for. They walk the walk, they don't have to talk the talk. The widows very often did. They applied later in the 1830s, and there was a big nationalist movement going on then. And so it became fashionable to talk about that. But the soldiers, in general, were very modest. And many of them didn't apply because, in fact, some of them said, I did not apply until now because I did not fight for money. I fought for my country, but now that I'm destitute, I have to apply. I think that's really what sticks with me.
Hang on, two questions. First one is, did Thomas Sumter, remember Thomas Sumter applied for either the Continental or the militia pension? And then number two, did you see anything where actually there was some bitterness about either fighting in the war or bitterness that they were getting the poultry money?
I'm a little hard of hearing, so I didn't hear the last part of your question.
The second question was, did you find a place where there was some bitterness from the pensioner regarding, the fight itself, or anything to do with the fight, or with receiving such a paltry amount of money?
The answer to the last part is yes. I think you mentioned that some of the applicants did refer to Gates in unkind terms. And some of them did say words to the effect that they're applying for this paltry sum because they just want to get their record on record. In 1820, under the 1818 Act, Congress was so shocked that there were this many veterans claiming to be impoverished that they passed a law in 1820 saying to keep your pension, you have to prove that you deserve it. If they own property valued at more than $200, they lost their pension. $200. That wasn't much even those days. And some were so taken aback by this that they didn't bother to apply under 1820. They said, you keep your damn money, we're not getting our estate certified. Your first question was, did I answer that one? Recriminations against.
No, did Thomas Sumter apply for?
Oh, yeah. No, he did. There is a Thomas Sumter, I think his nephew applied, but I don't know if Thomas Sumter lived long enough to apply.
He does seem to be the last. Sumter was the last general on either side to die, so he was lived a long while.
Oh, okay.
He died about 1836.
He did not apply.
Oh,
No, he was a wealthy guy.
he may well have,
He was a wealthy guy, though. He was
yeah.
not impoverished.
But I'm pretty sure he didn't apply, but he did. Abraham Buford applied for pension. Chief Justice John Marshall applied. I don't think he needed the money. I think he probably just wanted to set a good example to his fellow soldiers. You don't have to be embarrassed to apply for the pension. Get to him and then you.
One quick note, the weirdest thing I read in reviewing them was the Battle of Briar Creek, Georgia, when Ash was the major general and he was commanding the North Carolinians, and they had a debacle. A pension applicant later said that he saw Griffith Rutherford grab Ash's sword and beat him over the leg with it for his stupidity at Briar Creek. That was written up in one of the pensions. I've never seen it written anywhere else except this one pension. And I was like, I don't think that really happened.
You know, when I do something like that, if I were writing a book about that battle, I would put it in.
Oh, I did.
With a very tiny footnote saying, this is only one account.
But one thing I know about soldiers, they will tell you what they think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as an officer, if they begin with all due respect, sir, you know you. Two questions. One, what do you think accounts for the high percentage of valid applications?
Honor. They were swearing under oath, and I think that meant something.
Geez, it'd be nice if the government had it. But the other question is there similar applications for sailors, whether in the Continental Navy or the state navies or privateers and Continental Marines?
Yeah, Jay did ask me that earlier today. And I think most of the Continental sailors were from the north, and Will and I have only been doing those people who served in the south. So I really don't know the answer to that. I'm working on a large number of Virginia sailors, and they are well represented among the applicants. I'll have to ask Will Graves whether there's a large number from South Carolina Navy that applied. He would know, he's very interested in that. But I'm going to ask, I'll try to remember to copy you to on my email about that.
Historian Edward McCready credited Fox name, if not Swamp Fox, to Tarleton.
Yeah.
According to McCready's source was James Life of Mary.
Yeah, I've heard that. Supposedly Tarleton said, as for the damn fox, not even the devil could find him, or something like that.
And that was very near here, where that's
Yes.
attributed.
Richburg, yeah.
Right here, was it?
Fox Swamp, right down the
Yeah.
street.
Leon, building
But
on,
how you get from there to Swamp Fox, I'd love to know who was the first to do that.
TV.
Swamp.
You're in the swamp right now, sir.
Leon, I'd like to build on what Ed was saying. I've been paying attention to these World War II oral and video histories, and it's often remarkable how much detail they remember about the battles and the names. It's very similar to what you're running across. You talked to somebody in his 90s who was at that engagement on that place in Holland on the 22nd of September, 1944. They remember all the details. It's a little bit intense, so I'm not at all surprised.
Can I second what you said? I did a video history of the 26th Infantry Division, and I was able to interview 2 World War I veterans. And they talked about their experiences as if it were today. And when I came to edit the material, I realized that for about a minute and a half, one of the guys had slipped from the past tense into the present tense. And you know he was there. And then after a while, and that's the way it was. So either they had no memory at all, and they totally repressed the memory. They said, well, we went to war, but I don't remember anything. Or they remembered in vivid detail, and it stayed with them all their lives.
And the time between now and World War II is about the same as
it
this
is.
50 or 60 year period.
You're basing all on an account of memory. Are there instances where some of these applicants could demonstrate either with a piece of a uniform or a musket or some other artifact that could also lay claim to their...
You know what's even more convincing is scars. I did an analysis of scars by soldiers who were battle waxed. I mean, you come into a court claiming you had your arm cut off, but you got 2 arms. I mean, but if you got a big gash across your head, it's pretty convincing. I don't recall any instance where they brought in uniforms or other artifacts, but it could have happened.
So some of these were litigated? Is it coming forward?
You mean accused of fraud and then?
Use the mic,
To get
please.
their payment, they had to litigate.
What was the question? Well, they either appeared in court
Leanne?
or,
The microphone.
oh, yeah, they either appeared in court directly and swore, or if they were physically unable, you could get a justice of the peace. That's what the Lewis Lane Gentry did, the crooked justice of the peace come in and do the whole
They
deal.
were actually doing these face to face.
Yeah, most of them went into court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple of notes on my research.